Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm doing a playthrough of DANTE Inferno, a boss battler mixed with adventuring campaign game that I did a preview of, and I'm going to build on that preview and show you the second chapter of the game to build a bit past the tutorial. And no disclaimer for this one, I was sent a copy of the game, but I'm sending it on to Steve at the Co-op Guild next. And if you like the content on the One Stop Co-op Shop, consider supporting us through Patreon. You get early access to our videos and exclusive videos every month you can't see anywhere else. You can also listen to our weekly podcast for reviews and design discussions, or join the conversation and say hi on our Discord. So this video is going to be part one. I'm going to show the adventure phase of things, where I'm moving around and having the story, lots of Mike reading and choose your own adventure choices. If you want to skip all of that, watch the next video, which should be this week or next week, where I actually battle the boss and show how all the combat works. But if you're in for some storytelling, let's go ahead. So if you watch my preview videos, those had both the adventure phase, going through Limbo, the first of the 9 circles of hell in the game, because you are kind of following Dante's Inferno and that old story. And then I fought against King Minos. And basically, I revealed that he had been tricked in some way, and this order of knights are trying to invade hell to achieve salvation, and I'm trying to chase after them and stop them. It is 4 characters guided by Dante Alighieri, the Italian poet from Dante's Inferno. And that's basically a summary of the first video. You can go back and watch it. You'll see that a lot of the core mechanics have changed in the game since that preview, especially in the adventure phase. Originally, they had this whole matching cards mechanic for skill tests in the adventures. Now it's just dice, for better or worse. And honestly, I didn't love the card mechanic in the old one, so I'm happy they made this change. But yes, it's a much more straightforward system. Besides that, a lot of the mechanics are the same. So if you watch the original preview and then watch this video, you'll pretty much be caught up. So here we go. Prologue. You descend the staircase of Minos' manor and follow dimly lit masonry corridors. The echo of howling winds announces what awaits just ahead. The passage ends at the top of a precipice, from which all you can see is darkness and thick clouds. This is the second circle. Arising at the will of the powers that govern this place, the gales capture you and throw you into the eye of a hurricane, as if your bodies were nothing more than dry leaves. Within, the damned are whipped from one side of the vortex to the other, screaming and floundering about you. There is no peace for them in this punishment. What sin did they commit to justify their terrible fate? I have a feeling that it's going to be lust, but let's see. So it tells us to prepare a bunch of stuff, and then we're going to start out with Wuthering Heights, not the Kate Bush song, but apparently something else, in position A3, and then we're going to advance the caravan to it and inspect it. And what that means is on one side of the board is the adventure thing. You'll see they have a grid labeled with numbers and letters. On the other side is the battle board. And I am flipping card 16, Wuthering Heights, in the A3 space, and then inspect it just means I'm going to read the section of the book that corresponds to that, and it'll tell me what to do. The same gusts that takes you by surprise bring you safely to the top of a cliff where gusts blow in all directions. Here the lustful suffer in barren landscapes, tossed by winds as wild as their passions. In life I considered such punishment to be too severe, but now I know that everything here is as it should be. In fact, these same currents, so violent to the damned, are safe for us. It will be through them that we shall travel, Dante explains. On my first journey, so grievous I felt upon discovering this place that I fainted, and therefore little did I explore. So in order to follow the invaders, we need to navigate the hurricanes in search of the exit, which I do not know. Like castaways left to the whims of the tides, you throw yourselves into the whirlwinds, hoping that Providence will lead you along the path that the order has already taken. Okay, so we've got place region card 17, Ruins of the Past, B5, Echoes of Ravenna, C4. I'll just go ahead and do all of this. And then we're going to take these 4 Lust Path cards, 4 through 7, so not the 8th one. And these will be options we can follow each time we explore Wuthering Heights. So we'll explore one, and when we finish that chain, we'll head back here, and then we'll explore another one. And we're going to pick one of them to resolve before we go on to the next section. All right, so here we go, and this is pretty interesting. These are not cohesive sets of maps yet. Eventually, the things can be brought together, I guess, when the spaces are filled. So let's see, we got the Gates of Babylon. I guess that's like the story of Ishtar or Inanna going down to try to steal her sister's power. Echoes of Ravenna, I'm not familiar with that. Ruins of the Past could be anything, and then Ruins of the Sphinx is obviously Egyptian. And actually, it's not 100% clear which one's going to lead where, because this is telling me which wind to follow. So I don't know, we'll start with north. So it says, the caravan traverses the powerful winds that blow from south to north, winds that guide sailors back to their havens. So we take this and we put it over to our taken side, like our selected side, because sometimes it'll check which ones we've done with other choices. Then we read the section. You launch yourselves into the strong, dry wind, joining yet another whirlwind of the damned. Be careful, Dante warns. Things are very different in this place. There is not only darkness and storms now. The Order's incursion, those are the knights who are invading hell, has changed the governing laws of perpetuity, the nature of punishment, and even the geography of the very atmosphere. The poet is worried when he imagines the scope of such disorder, but before he can be questioned once again for his seriousness, the gale that is carrying you slows down and you reach your destination. Ahead, scorched paper rains onto the garden of a destroyed library, where verses about Lancelot and Guinevere fall all over the place. Dante knows whose torment this is, Francesca, Paolo, and the tragedy that caused Dante to faint when he was here for the first time. Okay, advance the caravan to, Echoes of Ravenna, and inspect it. Yeah, by the way, I have never read the Inferno, so I don't know exactly what's going on with these characters, but here we go. As soon as you get free of the wind, the couple approaches. How nice to see a friendly face, Dante, Francesca greets you. Especially now that all is confusing. See that even Paolo and I, who accept our punishment, are tormented by memories that manifest beyond our control. The poet shares the enthusiasm of the reunion, but warns that your visit is brief. However, Providence seems to have brought you together for a reason. The lovers have witnessed important events. It started when an army came through Minos's manor. Paolo is the one who speaks now. But it was after the battle that took place at the Pass of Wailing that it all went out of control. Most of the knights moved forward, but a defeated battalion remained. Paolo and Francesco are willing to help, but you do not have time to investigate both leads. Oh, man. Ask them to tell you about the battle or to point you towards the camp. So I don't want to hear what happened, because they said everything changed. Went out of control, or do I want to talk to the people who actually went out of control? Let's ask them to point us toward the camp. In response to your request, the couple guides you along a winding path through the mountainous terrain. The journey's not long, but you go on foot. The damned cannot travel through the whirlwinds like you. The march of the defeated looked as if it were a funeral procession. Paolo lets you know what awaits. They complained about having abandoned their dying brothers, claimed by the Guardian. The lucky survivors are no more than a dozen. Achilles' anger is legendary according to Homer, Dante takes the opportunity to teach. When he was struck by it, the Olympians themselves intervened, that he would not bring about the end of the Trojan War alone. Silently, the poet hopes that this friction means you are on the same side. Okay, place card 21, and we're going over there. So look at these, they're like little islands in the winds. All right, so we're at the outpost now. As you reach the top of a hill, you hide and observe the Order's camp below. The knights set their tents in a rocky area surrounding a fire next to which the wounded rest. The darkness and whispering winds make them vulnerable to an ambush. For the very first time, you find yourselves in an advantageous position. Okay, if we've discovered Paris tract... Nope, we keep reading. Let me guess. We shall need the commander alive for an interrogation. The mercenary speaks to the rest of you. The rebel nods his head in agreement. Mysteriously, he was chewing another haystack, which came out of nowhere. Perfect. This was all I needed to know. The condottiero leads the assault. Okay, so here we go. The caravan endures an ordeal of aggressiveness, difficulty 11. Let's show you how this new resolution system works. So by the way, I didn't say, but I am using 3 companions and only 1 full character. These are like little squires that have a lot less to deal with. I think it would be okay to dual hand if I wanted to, but I'm just trying to play through a little bit more straightforwardly for myself while I record. But yes, I think trying to control 3 or 4 full characters solo, since each of them has a deck of cards and other stuff, would first of all take up a ton of table space and also just be kind of annoying. But you always have the same 4 basic characters because the story's going to reference them. But at least in the version they sent me, there are alternate versions of them. So like it's still an outlaw, but it's not that guy. And they have their own deck of cards and their own abilities. So that way they kind of keep the narrative and the characters that are mentioned consistent, even though they might be different characters. And the character I'm actually controlling is Sophia the Artist, the Wanderer. She's basically the rogue, the backstabby one. I feel like I might have controlled her as a full character in the main game too, but that's also the kind of character I tend to play in RPGs, so I just went with my preferences. But the aggressiveness challenge, they said, was an 11. That means we need to get, between all 4 of the characters, 11 hits on the dice. The dice, and this is the same dice that are used in combat, have 2 single hit sides, 2 double hit sides, and 2 fumble sides, which are worth nothing. And at the beginning of this challenge, we get to first see how our initial roll goes. So aggressiveness is the red stat here. The Wanderer, Sophia, has 0, so she rolls nothing. But then the mercenary, did great, got 4 with his 2 dice. Annabelle got 2. Oh my gosh, this might be pretty easy. And then he got nothing. Okay, so we have a starting value of 6, which is pretty crazy. Now each of the characters simultaneously gets to decide how much of their vigor they want to spend. This is their life value. Whenever it goes down to 0, it resets to 6, but then they get a wound. 3 wounds and you're defeated. And these wounds will carry over into the boss battle and make things way more difficult. But also often, at least in the first circle of hell, whenever you fail fail a test. So if we don't get to 11 collectively here, we'll get wounded anyway. And also there are a lot of things that will invigorate us, which means heal our vigor back up. So on average, each die is going to add 1, although it can swing a lot based on whether it's a double or a single or a fumble. So if I've already got 6 and I need 11, I probably need like 5 more. So let's be a little safe and spend like 7. So I'll have the rebel spend 2, the maiden, the warrior, and Sophia, who didn't help out much in the first place, she'll only spend 1. So each of them are going to roll that many dice now that they've locked in how much they're spending. She got a fumble. It's a great start. Then each of them is going to get 2 more. Oh, that's good. That's already almost as much as we need. Oh, and I think we're already good. But it does matter who gets the most. All right, so we've got 2, 7, what is that? 7, 14. Okay, I overspent. And we're good to go. Demoralized, the knights are no match for you, and soon they surrender. We are the ones left of those who faced Achilles. As he realized how difficult it would be to defeat him, the supreme leader bargained for the army's safe conduct in exchange for a battalion to entertain him. My men and I were the price, the commander reports, regretfully earning the compassion of Francesca and Paolo. Fellows, have mercy, for these people were offered a sacrifice. I am certain they are no longer loyal to your enemies, the lady pleads, leaving you with another dilemma. Okay, so this is going to happen in pretty much every one of these tests. It says the champion who rolled the most hits receives 1 aggressiveness token. And these are like the metal versions they gave me, but that have also been painted. I'm not sure how they compare to like the final version of the game, because I think it's a slightly early version. But these can be spent for different effects. The aggressiveness one is pretty awesome. You can use it when you're attacking. You get 6 extra hits, pretty much a guaranteed wound. And that's definitely going to the mercenary because he got 7 hits versus I think the next closest person was 5. Disillusioned, the knights are no threat. Francesca asks you to have mercy. As a team, choose an option. We'll show mercy. Last time we showed mercy, it kind of worked out well for us, and Dante seemed to be happy with our choice. Moved, you show mercy and accept Francesca's request. Blessed be your journey. Paolo shares his beloved's empathy. The knight's repentant expressions reveals the gratitude they feel, but they would never have had the courage to confess. I'm afraid our encounter has come to an end. The winds call for you again, and we, the damned, cannot follow you, says the lady. I am pleased with your decision. How we act in the face of our impulses is what defines who we are. Know that choosing the way of virtue, even if it is more difficult and more painful, is what will ensure you are on the right path. You listen to the auspicious advice. Then you surrender to the next gust that passes you by, which blows you away. Okay, so we get to the Merciful Treasure card. This is one of the big things that happens with the different branching choices you pick. You get permanent upgrades you can give to people. So here I've got Merciful. It's a trait that I can give, and you can give to a different person each time, so we can take turns being merciful. When another champion in any range suffers a wound, you can have that wound assigned to yourself instead. If you do, you either receive Invigorate 4, that's healing, or Empower 4 to make your next attack better. Interesting. Okay. So I can put this in somebody who gets attacked less frequently, and then they can tank some damage. Should be fun. All right, then we're putting the Chamber of Temptation and traveling there. Okay. Sort of an odd-looking central location. I'm sure they're going to tempt us with some lust, maybe. Hopefully it'll be safe for families who still watch the video. The next thing you know, you are on firm, cold ground, as if noticing the arrival of visitors. Torches light up around you, illuminating a claustrophobic construction made of obsidian. It's an imitation of a basilica, but just thinking that there would be one here seems like heresy. The devotee notices the black stained glass windows that adorn the walls. It's heresy for this place to exist. Impressed, Dante interrupts her, even though it's not typical of him. This was not here before. Be careful. Just ahead, an altar holds an ox head carved in red wax with a broken cingulum on one of the horns. It whispers to the air, disguising lasciviousness in soft words that reach the heart. Then, just like in the dark forest, the world around you disappears as you dive into a hallucination from the past. Ooh, take the champion's fiercest markers and place them on this region. Whenever the caravan inspects it, return one of... Oh, this is cool! We get little branching stories for each character. So these are the fierceness markers with symbols and colors for each of the characters. Again, like this painted metal. Well, let's start with my main character, why not, and do the Time of Discovery. This is a whole separate section. Half a life ago, when the Ram dancer still didn't have her own show, the girl felt a warmth in her chest that she had never felt before. Beautiful, talented, and cheerful, there was no man who would not promise the world to marry her, but her father never accepted. He knew the preciosity he had. Still, suitors appeared almost every day, till someone special arrived. A girl they met when she came to invite the family to a congregation in honor of Sarah Lacali, one of the 3 Maries to whom the Romani of southern France were devoted to. The caravan from Carpathia had just come to the region and not yet settled. Encouraged to become friends, the girls did everything together. They acted, embroidered, sang, danced, and read. They bathed and cared for each other, but they also prayed together. The only thing they did not do was talk about marriage. "Forgive me," the young artist said, feeling embarrassed the day their lips accidentally touched. A disconcerted atmosphere took over as Julia promptly did the same. She returned the kiss, but she never apologized. All right, so this is my 4th time inspecting the region. Add path card 8. Okay. Confused by the feelings that finally began to come together, the wanderer sought the church as she had always done for matters of the spirit. The truth is that the girl never liked boys, but that did not mean her heart would not burn for someone. "Blasphemy! Sin! Depravity!" The village priest received her with a bigoted attitude. "I've seen how you two sing, dance, and party. Incontinence is the devil's door, and you have opened it wide. Bring Julia here. I will recommend severe penance to purge such impure thoughts." The man was not taught to understand that kind of love. Astonished, the young artist did not want to deviate from her faith, but she needed to decide how she would face her feelings from that moment on. I mean, I gotta believe the purity of what I feel. I'm not gonna let the priest, torture my beloved. What the heck? But this is also a Christian game, kind of? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Even though she had been advised by a priest, the young Ram did not believe that something so pure could be the result of perdition. Choosing to stick to the interpretation that Christ's message is the message of love, she decided to accept who she was. "Milan, Hungary, Wallachia, it matters not. We shall travel the whole world if necessary. There must be some place where we can be free." Julia proposed an unusual escape, maybe even too unusual for 2 girls. The artist awakes on the cold floor, her face washed with tears. Immediately, the wax head opens its mouth wide and summons a whirlwind as overwhelming as her memory, throwing all of you back to the heights where the winds howl like wolves. Ooh, the artist remembers an episode from her past. Progress her to Resolute Wanderer by replacing her champion card. And we go back to Wuthering Heights. So I think I would have gotten a different new character card if I'd made a different choice. That's fun. Yeah, so let's see. Here she's level 2. She's got 1 more in every stat except aggressiveness. Well, that's great. She's got a better backstab, and improvisation looks the same, but that's still cool. And by the way, this is the primary way that companions advance. I mean, yes, you can give them treasures and stuff. But at the end of the first chapter, I got to replace one of my level 1 cards with a level 2 card from my deck. That clearly doesn't work for the champions because they don't have any of these cards. But when they advance from level 1 to level 2, it also changes their companion side, so they have new and different abilities. Cool. But yeah, very fun. I know we'd get one of those already in Circle 2. All right, which one do we want to do next? I don't know, let's go to the east. The stormy winds carry you along with a crowd of the damned. They mourn and scream. "Let not pity cloud your judgment," Dante advises when he sees your discomfort. "Remember that divine justice is omniscient." "Why do they suffer so much?" the mercenary asks, clearly impressed. "They seem restless." "Those who suffer in this circle," the poet explains, "souls who eagerly sought companionship, suffer in death the lack of the warmth they sought in life." The condottiero reflects, but only for a short time. The whirlwind slows as you reach your destination. Immense deteriorated sphinx, at the feet of which a woman waits impatiently. Before the majestic figure, Dante bows. "Cleopatra, brilliant strategist and unique ruler. I know who you are and what you want," she interrupts bluntly. "Know that your descent is guarded by Achilles, the most skilled warrior who has ever lived. The Myrmidon believes that his legendary spear is safe where he left it. However," the Queen of Egypt smiles, revealing the weapon. "Take it! It's yours!" she insists. "All I ask in return is a favor." Her intentions come to light. "Minos seems to have a good relationship with you, and what I wish for is a new trial. All things considered, this is nothing. After all, I am certainly not the empty, lustful woman the Romans describe," she adds, inviting you to accompany her to the King of Crete's manor. The poet argues that the effort is in vain, as the sentence reflects divine justice, but he makes it clear the decision is yours. Okay, we don't have that treasure card. We get number 7, the spear. Seems like it should make things pretty easy. All right, so we can reject her favor, we can accept the favor, we can force her to hand over the equipment. Minos does owe us a favor after the last thing we did. Okay, well, we'll try to help her out. You are aware that the sentences are imposed by Minos. You understand that he may have made a mistake in her case. It would not be the first for the King of Crete, considering the recess he allowed himself. "Excellent!" Cleopatra gives thanks in almost the same way she gives an order. "That is all I ask. All things have changed since that strange army arrived. Perhaps it is a sign of the time," the Queen explains her reasoning. After a short journey through the dunes, you once again reach the cliffs at the foot of the staircase, the one that leads to the circle above, where you came from when you arrived at this circle. When you finally overcome all the steps and corridors, you find Minos's Hall, still under reconstruction. Oh, we're 24, okay. The crowd of souls at my door stretches all the way to the banks of the Acheron, and yet here you are, disturbing me once again. What do you want? The bulky magistrate thunders as you are led into his presence. We would like you to review the sentence of Cleopatra Philopator, the artist argues. She claims that the accusations against her are unfounded, and therefore her sentence is mistaken. All of you are apprehensive. Okay, so from the combination of the Pelion Spear Treasure card and Discovery card number 4, we have that one. Check the theory that suits the reality of the caravan. If we do not have the spear, even if it has the divorce... Oh, well, never mind. It's not going to work then, I guess. Thank you for keeping your word. The queen thanks you while the magistrate prepares. Now I must confess, the spear I gave you is false. The real one is in the profound abyss, guarded by one of Achilles' greatest lovers, Briseis. Francesca, who is beyond the notice wind, can take you there. Crud. Surprise, you attempt to reply, but Minos silences you. The judge has made his decision. Okay, so we store card 7, which means we don't have it anymore, because it's a fake spear anyway. And we get card 8, but since we've already gone to Francesca, I think it's too late to get it. Gosh darn it. Okay, and then if we have the divorce request, so he owes us a favor, we'll go to 24A. Review a sentence. This is unprecedented. Minos laughs loudly. Well then, appeal, your majesty. Mockingly, he allows the defense. Your Honor, I have only loved 2 men, Cleopatra testifies. Julius Caesar and then Mark Antony. So truthful was my last marriage that I no longer had reason to live after I lost him. As queen, I ruled for my people and sought to restore Egypt's influence and prestige. Does it seem fair that I suffer along with the lustful? The magistrate ponders and extends his tale. In fact, perhaps no one will notice one more soul in limbo. He sentences her once more, tying a single knot. Rejoice! It's the best destiny you can have. The woman falls to her knees in gratitude. Perhaps this was the first time anyone had seen her in this position. Dante, on the other hand, is horrified. He knows that Minos cannot do this. Now get away, I have a lot of work to do. The king of Crete expels you, being uncomfortable with the poet's reprisals. Heeding the thunderous command, a sudden whirlwind blows, dragging all of you back to the storm. Now we get a Redeemer treasure card. And then we're going back to 26 for another solo adventure. Redeemer. Whenever you are attacking, you may put 1 vigor point to reroll 1 die after the roll. That's fantastic. I like that one. Because those fumbles can really mess you up on a key roll. All right, this time, let's do the stolen wedding and the mercenary. The life of a prince has its perks. Even if you are not the heir, it is true that you will live in your brother's shadow, and you will need to prove your value several times. But the man who would become the mercenary at the beginning of his adult life did not complain. He loved his family and his people. He liked to act as the right hand. On one of those occasions, he received a special task, organizing the firstborn's wedding. As usual, the wedding was arranged, the bride and groom did not know each other, and the place chosen was neutral territory. Once he arrived where the ceremony would take place, the warrior soon had someone's daughter as his lover to pass the time, as he always did. His bed was warm every night. By the end of the preparations, the webs of passion had entangled him. I swear to you, brother, there will be 2 weddings. He celebrated with the groom when they met again on the fateful day. As the future sellsword took his place as best man, his romance dissolved into a nightmare. His legs shook like never before when he saw that the bride, promised to be pure, was the same woman who had sworn to be his and no one else's that very morning. Oh my God. Dude, Dante Inferno just went full-on soap opera, and I love it. That night, the mercenary could not sleep. He could fight all day in battle if he had to, but having to pretend that nothing had happened was too exhausting for him. A shame, as he would have preferred not to have seen it when the lady came into his room later. I did what my family wanted. Now I shall do as I wish, she whispered to him as she undressed. Let us leave this place. Crete, Cyprus, Sicily, an island where every day will be our spring. No blade had ever torn through the flesh of the sellsword like those words. For the first time, he found himself unarmed and defenseless. What the heck? Oh, live with the woman you fell in love with, or end the romance with your brother's wife. Why? Oh, jeez. This can't end well. You know, I'm going to end the romance. I'm going to be a good brother. I'll choose not love and not lust in the lust circle for this one, since I chose the opposite with the artist. The sellsword was more nervous in that room than on a battlefield. Gathering his courage, he put an end to what should not have even started. However, even though he acted right, the warrior would never be able to face his brother and break his heart by telling the truth. So alone he fled. Renown, fortune, or title, none of that mattered anymore. He would just be the mercenary. The man awakes here and now, feeling his heart being crushed. Immediately, the wax sculpture opens its mouth wide, summoning a devastating whirlwind that drags you all back to where all winds howl. Okay, I'm the lonely condottiero. Sounds about right. All right, yep, here we go. My new card. And it's time to blow again, and sadly I can't go north. So yeah, again, there's some good replay here and just kind of following different paths, getting different treasures, getting different results, which can sometimes affect the boss fight. Because like if I could have gotten Achilles' spear, I'm sure that would have changed the fight quite a bit. But not to be. Let's follow the southerly wind. This time, cadaverous pigeons cooing profanity, what the heck, disturb you as you fly through a warm, gentle breeze. What sort of punishment is this? Hearing obscenities for eternity, the devotee questions. This is derangement, not punishment, the poet explains. It's like the palace I see ahead. These distortions are manufactured by the will of the damned and are only possible thanks to the disorder caused by the invaders. Luckily, few are aware that they now have such power, he concludes. If the birds bother you, maid, it is because the queen of Babylon dislikes you. We are being led to her punishment, Dante explains as the wind lowers you to the ground in front of turquoise gates with golden ornaments that remind you of spider webs. And here we go, Gates of Babylon. As you land, the gates open to reveal a majestic woman dressed in blue and red. There is Semiramis, the feared conqueror of Assyria, Dante introduces your hostess. And you are the ones who pursue the invaders, she states, showing you that she knows many things. It seems that Providence has brought us together, for no one can defeat the one who guards the passage, at least not without help. The queen pulls out a flask from her cleavage, a liquid of the greatest vileness. Well, perhaps I have what you need. The poet warns you that negotiating with her is a bad idea. However, the queen is persuasive. I know what I did, but I just want to have some fun. Make me feel pleasure again, and the potion is yours. It's that simple. No catches. Semiramis has a resource, but she's not willing to give it to you for free. So I can take the potion by force, reject, or lay with her. Else is lust. I think I'm going to reject this one. You are afraid of surrendering to the queen, so you refuse the proposal. This is making me think of, of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. No, let me go back and face the peril. No, it's too perilous. We reject your sorceress ways, witch. Jeez. The devotee steps forward. The mercenary and the outlaw, on the other hand, seem especially shaken by this decision. Yeah, I bet they are. Oh, wow, you are such a killjoy, Semiramis is furious. In life, no one had the courage to reject her. Even in death, she feels outraged by this. If you did not come to serve me, then leave. The Inferno is now filled with the warmth of mortals. I do not need you. She attempts to keep her pride. Dante, in turn, is quick to accept the invitation for a peaceful departure, disguised as expulsion. Leaving the woman to rage alone, you take the first whirlwind out of that place. Okay, so here we go. We each invigorate 2, so that gets us back to vigor. So we're back to our starting stuff, or a bit higher. And okay, we go back to the Chamber of Temptations. Didn't gain anything there. And this time, let's do the devotee. One night, the young Flemish woman who would one day become the devotee pretended to have fallen asleep, only to sneak out in the middle of the night. Having chrismed just a few moons before, whispers of arranged marriage began to surface, but she had other plans. The girl had fallen for the family stable boy, a young man of military age, very good-looking. This was the first time she had the idea of spying on him while he bathed. Oh, this game. The blush on the cheeks, the heavy breath, the desire to do things she did not even know for sure. Her body burned. I know you're there. I can see your green eyes through the crack, the servant warned, but he did not cover himself. The feeling was mutual. It did not take long for thought to become action and youthful passion to be consummated again and again. The maiden believed that her father would have no alternative but to marry them since she had surrendered to her beloved, naive. The response to her confession was humiliation and beating, but it did not stop there. Having disgraced her father, the young woman would pay by being admitted to a convent. The boy, on the other hand, had an even worse fate. He was found hanging over the bed where their love was made eternal. Oh. Your father warned us that a succubus lives in you, the Mother Superior commented while cutting the aspiring devotee's blonde locks as soon as she was admitted to the convent. I was young too. I know how you feel. But worry not, for here you will discover a love more sublime than that of the flesh. The maiden's first nights were filled with tears for her lost life. However, in those moments when pain was greatest, she found the compassion of her sisters. Carrying their own tragedies, they supported each other like no one did for them outside those walls. Mother Superior was right. The young woman discovered a new type of love. But was it enough to suffocate the feeling of injustice that overflowed in her? You know what? Just to be different, I'm going to struggle to accept my new life. Even though outrage burned in her heart, an image remained in the maiden's head. Thibault, the stable boy, hanged. He committed suicide out of regret, her father's words reverberate. Determined, the lady gave herself to marry Christ, seeking to get rid of impure thoughts. Her flesh burned with desire just remembering that night, but aware of the consequences of her weakness, and with the support of her sisters, she remained chaste and on her chosen path. Suddenly, the devotee awakens in the dark chamber, screaming. Furious, she charges at the wax head to destroy it, but the sculpture opens its mouth wide and summons a violent whirlwind that drags you all back to the heights. All right, so now she is a resigned maiden. That doesn't sound super happy, but okay. All right, and one more wind to go. Taking the wind that blows gently, you are lifted up high. There you can see in the distance a beach of dark sand dotted with sharp rocks. Poet, appalled, the artist asks a question. What is lust in the eyes of divine justice? Essentially, Dante begins, it is all that can be traced to a single crime, incontinence. When one surrenders to desire, ignoring the power one has to restrain it, this is where adultery, debauchery, and perversion originate. Remember that only rational love is pure and brings happiness. Thoughtful, the girl falls silent and lets the silence reign until you reach your destination, a sandy expanse where worn-out banners lie as reminders of a long battle. The whirlwind leaves you amid a mirage of broken shields, bronze armor, and rusty spears, a scenario bottled up in one of the thousands of hurricanes of this circle and shaped by a couple of convicts. However, only the wife alone runs toward you. Helen, the poet sighs upon meeting once again the one considered the most beautiful among women. She, however, dispenses with pleasantries. Please, help me! They came and took Paris! A group of men! Hoplites! The Trojan princess pleads in anguish. Once again, the order has left chaos behind, perverting the divine arrangement. Rescuing her husband is a courteous gesture, but isn't chasing such a small battalion a waste of time? We'll help rescue Paris. Moved by the emotional request, you decide to help Helen. The soldiers who took my husband were talking about a settlement they intended to reach by land. They prefer to avoid the winds, the princess explains excitedly. If we move quickly, we should be able to catch them on the way. All eyes turn to the outlaw, for that is his specialty. The terrain in this place is sandier than that of my Cornwall. He contains their expectations. But I will do my best, although I would bet good silver on the guess that the ground here is tricky. The rebel begins his work, searching for the enemy's tracks. Ordeal of Prowess, difficulty 13. Well, since some of us have leveled up, this isn't as bad. She's got 3 now. And okay, 3 successes, not bad. The outlaw is supposed to be the best at it, only has 1, but he also is the only one that hasn't leveled up. 1 success. And for her, 2 successes, great. We're having better luck at this than I did in the first circle, and he has 1. Okay, there's a fumble. So we've got 6 out of 13. So let's do 2 each for 8 more dice. If we fail here, by the way, there is a final mitigation. I'll explain whether I succeed or not. That's not a good start. So he only got 1. Oh, God, she only got 1. Come on, outlaw, you said you were good at this. Yeah, there we go. And I don't know how many more we need. Oh, my gosh! Well, that's got to be it, right? 7, 12. Yeah, we're definitely way ahead. But yeah, just to explain, if you're still short after the second roll, then you can add Arcana cards up to once per character to let you reroll all of that character's dice. And these will go into the deck of the boss and basically give them more life because every card in the boss's deck is damage you got to deal to them. And also the effects can be pretty nasty. So yeah, good thing we didn't have to do that. And clearly I'm the one getting the prowess token, which is basically an extra action. As you progress in your pursuit, the winds dance over the sand, covering the evidence of the invader's passage as if on purpose. However, the outlaw has been trained to deal... Yeah, the outlaw. Well, actually, no, he did get 5 successes. He did good. The outlaw has been trained to deal with such ruses, so this deception cannot disguise the footprints of the knight's heavy greaves. You move forward until you arrive at the ruins of an ancient pier. There, the coveted prize sits in his elaborate armor near a campfire, willingly keeping his captors company. In fact, these Iliad lovers do not understand anything about abductions. Wait, they're just hanging out with Paris? Okay, so we get 5. Paris tracked. And I got the prowess token, and we're going to 18. All right. When she meets her prince again, Helen runs to him. She does not care about the captors who, strangely, do nothing. What's going on? Perhaps they knew beforehand what was to come. Paris does not respond. My dear, why do you rob me of your affections? I found help and rushed to rescue you from your abductors, being a good wife, she inquires. Abduction? He reacts angrily. Oh, great, it's Orlando Bloom all over again. In fact, I was as abducted as you were. Your charms bewitched me, awakened desires that condemned me and made Troy burn, but no more. The order showed me the way. Paris, what does this mean? You tear my heart apart. Aren't we the victims of love? She continues, but the Trojan is immovable. Love? All it brought was death and destruction. I'm certain that history remembers our love differently, doesn't it? He adds, turning to you. Oh, making you mediators in a couple's fight. Shoot. I mean, Paris is being a jerk, but he's also 100% right. I kind of feel bad about this. I'm going to reprimand Helen and exonerate Paris, because, they did kind of get everybody killed. Although, wasn't it the gods who did that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm a bad person. Here we go. Helen falls to her knees when she is the only one held responsible for Troy's misfortunes. She had always accepted her punishment, but being considered the protagonist is an unexpected blow. Then, without saying goodbye, the princess launches herself into the first violent gale that passes you by. Do not think that I do not have a heart, the Trojan breaks the silence, maintaining his stance. I joined the order because they promised me salvation, for me and for her, he justifies. Now, comrades, take this, a gift for having helped me. He hands you the bow that shot the most famous arrow in history. That seems good for the fight coming. Inviting you to introduce yourselves. Luckily, sudden winds blow and drag you into the whirlwinds, preventing you from revealing that you are, in fact, enemies. Okay, whenever you're attacking, before the roll, you may suffer stun 1 with fatigue 4 to grant precision 2 to your attack. Ooh, that's actually pretty nice. Precision 2 means that you're less likely to get counterattacked by them. I'm not sure who to give it to. The outlaw is the one who usually does range attacks. We'll see. In fact, he might be the only one that's allowed to equip it, I think. Yeah, because each character says what they can equip. Never mind, it's going to be his. And speaking of the outlaw, last one. Just over a decade and a half ago, the soldier who would become the outlaw broke the bonds of vassalage imposed since birth. The first looting that made him famous was motivated by the promise of the liberation of the peasantry in the fight against tyranny, greed, and corruption. The following ones, not so much. Homages, tributes, power. In his early 20s, he was seduced by the perks received by warlords. And so he led his own band for 5 years until one fateful day in a battle like any other he had won before, he was defeated, and his whole world turned upside down. The treatment for a rebel was worse than death itself. However, this was not the end. The duke who defeated the outlaw could see his qualities, young, strong, and natural leader, and was willing to spare him and his soldiers except for one person, a woman, Melandra, the companion who had devoted the last years of her life to the rebel. Someone would pay the price for betrayal, and it was up to the prisoner to decide. It would either be the love of his life or the men who bled alongside him, a choice that has haunted him ever since. Astonished, the rebel stood and hurriedly dressed. He knew the rebellion was doomed, but perhaps he could leave in that instant and warn his comrades, saving his men. The problem was that it was not a simple choice. Wait! If you go, they will know that it was I who told you. I will be executed as a traitor, the lady confessed in despair. Whether we like it or not, our destinies are tied as they always were. For me, at least, when you showed me the England of your dreams. She had fallen in love not only with the man, but also with the revolutionary's bravado. Finding himself between the hammer and the anvil, he needed to make a decision that would haunt him the rest of his life. Alert your men and condemn the lady who saved you. Leave your men in the rebellion behind. I guess I'm going to save my men. With his heart racing, the outlaw did what needed to be done. The lady who risked her own life to save him would die. Otherwise, the men who followed him blindly would be slaughtered by the king, and he could not allow that. In his younger years, the conscript boy learned that war is terrible for soldiers, but it was only at that moment that he understood that leadership is not a prize, at least in the eyes of the virtuous. Reality is cruel, and many times someone will pay the price in blood because of you. Quiet as always, the rebel awakens from his hallucinations, staring at the ox's head. Suddenly, a whirlwind coming from nowhere throws you all into darkness, leaving you back at the Wuthering Heights. Okay, so now I'm the rebel leader. Oh, but wait, I forgot something. Yeah, they are giving me a new path card to take from the heights, because I was about to say I'm out of them. All right, there we go, our last level up. And our last gust. After searching for a long time, you finally find an immense section depression, as if it were a large stadium, which funnels into a valley that separates this circle from the next. There, a terrible scene awaits you as soon as you free yourselves from the winds that brought you there. Dozens and dozens of fallen knights, some still in agony, are spread across the battlefield. Sitting and bored, the perpetrator of this carnage rejoices at the sight of you. That is Achilles, the greatest warrior in history. Let us be cautious, the poet whispers advice. The son of Peleus then stands up and starts walking from side to side, staring at you, one by one, observing as a lion watches his prey. Of course, he's not willing to talk. Alrighty, it's going to be an interesting fight. We definitely didn't get his spear. We didn't get the potion to poison him. This is just going to be mano a mano, but I do have the arrow that shot out his ankle, right? Or at least in the movie version. So that's going to be it for part 1. Check out part 2 with my battle against Achilles, showing off all the boss battle combat again very soon, probably this week or next. But for now, thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our biggest Patreon supporters, J. William F., Steve Wren, Pedro Lucas, Miles, KCW, Andrew R., and Chris C. We'll see you at the next stop.